Hey folks, Ben from Nutshell here, and joining me today is Brian Carroll, founder and CEO of Markempa. Now, chances are, if you're a B2B marketing professional, you've seen Brian's work at some point. He's the founder of the B2B Lead blog. He's the author of Lead Generation for the Complex Sale, which is one of the top 100 best-selling sales and marketing books of the last decade. And these days, Brian helps organizations improve their demand generation and sales results through empathy. Now, we'll get into the how of that in a minute. And hopefully get some of his pearls of wisdom for free. Thanks so much for being here, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be with you, Ben.
Our pleasure. So empathy is becoming a buzzword in the business world these days. You know, we want our teams to be empathetic when dealing with customers and while collaborating with each other. We want our brands and our customer experience to convey empathy. Now, what is empathy in a business context? How do you define that?
Well, empathy really is seeing things from the perspective of our customer or our audience. So, it's, and really, I think, frankly, it's easier to talk about than it is to do because of what it's like to be a marketer or a seller today. So when I describe it, it's like trying to understand how your customer's feeling, what's happening in the world and their experience. And how are they feeling and how are they thinking? What are the concerns that they have? What are the challenges? And so the challenge today is that we have more ways of reaching customers and more channels, but actually connecting to what matters to our customers is the hard thing, connecting to what customers care about. So that's why, I see empathy as a superpower for us in marketing and sales.
Yeah, and you've worked in B2B marketing for almost 25 years now.
Yeah.
And at what point did you make this realization that empathy was a differentiator in marketing and sales?
So I think, in anyone who's done something for a while has these moments that put you on a new path. And I had what I would call my Jerry Maguire moment. And if you remember, Jerry had this revelation in the movie, wakes up in the morning and it's 2 a.m. and he writes the mission statement, right? And funny enough, he actually is talking some things that have to do with empathy in the movie, although he doesn't use that term. So for me, my Jerry Maguire moment was 2014. I was running inside sales in sales and marketing for a consulting firm that also did a lot of research, actually, ironically, on how people make decisions and how they buy. And I saw a story, a friend sent me a video, 2 minutes, CBS News, and, it opens up. The company was endorsed by Mother Teresa. You're like, what? Mother Teresa? Are you kidding me? Secondly, this year been nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. So Ben, you'll never guess. I mean, they're like, dun, dun, dun. You'll never guess what this company does. They're a collection agency. And I was like, what? So
unexpected.
I don't know about you, but I made some bad decisions when I was in college, and I literally got called by collection agents, and I could never think of Mother Teresa endorsing the experience I had, right?
Right.
So here's why they were this feel-good story is the CEO got inspiration from a group of employees. They wanted to practice compassionate collections, and the employees said, what if we help customers deal with why they can't pay their bills? And I'm going to connect this. So I'm watching this, and, they came from the perspective of people have lost their jobs, they have car problems, and they literally started helping people deal with this, like interview and write a resume and find car repair services that are affordable. I mean, that kind of thing, renegotiating debts. And here's the thing is they gave away all these free services. And so the news anchor's like, you're practicing this kindness and compassion. What impact has this made giving away all these free services? And the CEO said, we're 200% more profitable. So, I just want to, I'd written a book, we were doing all these things, and my team was pretty good at lead generation. And so I'm watching this and I'm like, there was something inside me that was like, I viewed if a collection agency could treat their customers better, what would happen if we did it? And I don't know, I wouldn't say it wasn't like an audible snap, but something inside me felt both like we're missing it. And I would say marketing and selling, the best marketing selling feels like helping because it really is. But what I realized is I was being a hypocrite. I said that, but every time what I paid my team to do, what we focused on is converting people.
Yeah.
And so I showed my team this video. I talked to our CEO first, and I was like, you guys, I want us to focus on better helping our customers. And um, someone raised their hands. First, it was crickets. Okay. It was crickets. Like, okay, what are we supposed to do then? And someone raised his hands. He's like, if we focus on helping our customers and not trying to get leads, how are we going to get leads then? And so that was the beginning of our story. And you know, there's
And
a lot
figuring
I
out
could,
that problem, right?
yeah. So here's what, we had to take to this next level of changing a lot of our approach. Our big aha happened when I had my team shift from being like lead generation people to more like a hotel concierge, which
Mhm.
is we're just there to help. Like people have a great experience. And the good news is that we had good content and things people engaged. The problem is we're using that as the means, the valid business reason to call and try to convert someone to be a lead. And what we shifted, and here's our big takeaway for everyone. So, there's a lesson in the story. We started focusing on, hey, what were they trying to get done by downloading an ebook? What were they hoping to get done as a result of the webinar? What motivated them to attend an event or summit? And instead of trying to use that as the point of conversion, we focused that as the point of helping. And so we just simply helped people get whatever it was done. And after doing this for a period of time, it took about 6 months, and we were still getting leads. But the funny thing is by not focusing on getting leads, and not focusing on conversion, we ended up getting 303% more sales accepted leads by not making that the thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I want to talk about the status quo for a moment. Sales and marketing organizations who haven't made this sort of switch in mindset.
Yeah.
When sales organizations and marketers are not empathetic,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying that could be
Yeah.
malicious, but like it's just the status quo, as I said.
Right.
Like, how does that manifest itself in terms of their tactics or messaging?
So the things that I would say is right now we're entering fourth quarter, and starting tomorrow, right? And so people are kind of looking. There's always this bit of anxiety of being a marketer, like crazy busy, overwhelmed, and same in sales. Like if you don't sell for a quarter or two, you got some challenges. So we both sides are focused on the short term, and here's the thing, feeling anxiety actually can help. Cortisol can help focus you, but the problem is that it also can force you to do things that aren't helpful to your customers. Like, give you an example, all the automated sequences that we get, one after another, or BDRs sending and doing cold emailing and following up that to the customer. Like literally, here's an example. I got 2 emails last night wanting, in effect, the message was, I just want to be at the top of your inbox because you didn't respond to my message last week. And think about the experience of the customer. If you sales hustle and then you combine that with automation, actually can create a bad experience for the customer because it was about that person getting their needs met. So when you're anxious or you're focused on trying to get things done, the danger is you focus on getting your needs met at the expense of someone else. And at worst, that's called being a sociopath. Wolf on Wall Street, he actually practiced empathy to understand how to manipulate people. So empathy is a skill to understand. What I'm saying, though, is that caring about people, being curious about people, collaboration, that happens when we're actually trying to think bigger picture. And so that, again, isn't easy to do. And so you have to manage your inner game
Mhm.
of how you feel towards customers. Are they just emails? Are they just IP addresses? Is that just a phone number, or is that a human being? And,
Yeah.
you know,
I feel like what you're saying, like, optimizing for the reply or optimizing for the outcome that you want. It's sort of, it could be the focus. We could sort of over-index in that direction uh, by using a combination of automation and just like, we need to get this done by a certain time. It sort of changes the relationship a little bit. So what are the changes in tactics that we need to employ to make that shift to empathy? What are some of the things that sales and marketing
yeah.
can do specifically that's not just sort of relying on the old ways of like, I'm going to do anything it takes to get a reply from this person or get the outcome that I want?
Well, I think it's just starting one with thinking of your orientation. So what I would say is a helpful mindset I find is, instead of seeing if it is to be, it's up to me, is that today our customers aren't buying a product or solution. What they really are doing is they're making a change. They're buying change. And the thing is when you have a complex sale, you're trying to get a group of people to buy into change, and change is hard. And so what I would say is be more of a customer Sherpa, which is, let's say, instead of the funnel, they're trying to climb a mountain, and they got to decide, is it worth it? And so is it worth it to me? And how will my team think about this? And so what I'm saying is moving your mindset to be more around, how do I help this person? How do I help this organization achieve what it is? And some of the times the most helpful thing is saying, recognizing when someone isn't a fit. And I think we spend so much time in pursuit that we don't actually focus on what the other side is like. So here's what buyers value. When I interview customers, and I do a lot of customers interviews to understand, tell me the story of your buying journey. Here's what they value. I felt they were my advocate. I felt like they cared more about my needs getting met than their bottom line. They wanted to help me get a win. They wanted to help me succeed. And so I look at the lens. And so here's a tactical thing. Before you send a message, ask yourself, you need to be the customer. So be a secret shopper, like in retail. People are secret shoppers. Look at your message and say, how would I feel if I received that message? And then look at that from that perspective. The words you say, are you using words that your customers actually use? We get stuck in our thinking about what we do and how it is we do it. We forget often what it's like for the customer. And often they have different words describing their job. They have different words describing what they care about. And so when we're trying to create a category or a product, we get so stuck on our buzzwords and our terminology. The other things that I would say is seeing your messaging from the perspective of the customer. So I do something called empathy indexing. And there's 4 things that I can say. You can look at your call guides, your emails, your landing pages. So the first thing is, are you being emotionally resonant? Are you connecting to an emotion that person's feeling? Like customers might be feeling anxious right now. Like when you're reaching out to someone, they want to feel pressured, so how do you connect to that feeling? And also, what's the feeling we'd like to have? I don't want to feel anxious. I want to feel calm. I want to feel secure. I want to feel, I want to feel confident. And so helping someone, when you communicate, are you connecting to the likely emotion they're feeling? Customer focus is, who's the hero of the story? So every message, this is about your product, this is about your company and how great you are, or is it about the customer? Who's the hero of that message? Who are you focusing on?
And it reminds me of something you wrote on Markempa.com, where
yeah.
you said you need to go beyond rational logic-based marketing to understand how your buyers feel, which makes sense. But how could I discover how my buyers feel? Like, how can I learn what those motivators are?
I've got a great story, and this actually is, I interviewed Dave Brock, and he works a ton with sales leaders, sales managers. And so, it could be as simple as just getting in the world of your customer. For him, he was selling at the time to bankers, and specifically people in finance and Wall Street. And so he went to a bar after hours where they went after work. And he literally just got a beer and just sat and listened. Some cases talked. But it's funny, the unguarded moments, what we talk about over an adult beverage, our frustrations, our issues, and he learned so much. And he said, you got to be curious about your customer. You got to enter the world of your customer. If you're in marketing, you're listening to this, get out in the field with your sales team. If you're in field sales, you actually could benefit a lot. If you have an inside sales team, listen to the phone calls they're having. Because a lot of times people on the phone talk to more potential customers than people in the field do. And they hear a lot, the complaints, the issues, the stories. So I would say listening is a big thing. And I'm not talking about listening to reply. It's this empathetic listening where you're trying to listen to what's the motivation? Why are they saying what they're saying? therapists do this all the time. They're processing at 3 levels. There's the, what are you saying? How are you saying it? But then they're also listening to that deeper sense of what's behind what's being said. What is that telling you about that person and what they care about? And empathy mapping is another thing that you can do. So this is a Stanford D School Open IDEO. It's literally writing a 4-box. So get out a napkin or a piece of paper, write 4 boxes, a line, cross them. On one side, put saying and doing. So box 1, saying, below that, doing. And then on the right side, thinking and feeling. And so based on what I observe someone and say and do, you can actually begin to start eliciting how are they thinking and feeling. And so, look at the personas or the people you're selling to and start empathy mapping and trying to ask yourself why. What's behind what they're doing, what's behind what they're saying. And that gives you the external stuff we can observe. We can tell a lot about how people are feeling and thinking. Sometimes they say it, but this is where our empathy gives us that intuition to sense and to probe. I have more stuff, but is that what you're hoping? Or
yeah, absolutely. And just to put a bow on it before I let you go, what are the key differences between an ordinary marketing communication and what you describe as an empathy message?
I think the main thing I would say is that it really connects to what I care about. And so there's this connection piece where when you read it or you hear it, you actually feel like they get me. I'm understood. That this is something that I want or something I care about. Those are things that on the recipient side that makes it stand out. And what I find is that companies that go this extra mile that do this. So, you have everyone in the world telling you, hey, you got to create a three call sequence for your BDRs or SDRs and a 3 email sequence. Well, challenge that a bit. Think about because there's so much done that's so-called best practices, but you have to ask yourself with everything you're doing, is this a good experience for the customer? And I would say this is the most memorable communications is it gives you a feeling, and that's what customers remember about you is not the content. They remember the context and how they felt from every interaction with you. And so it's not just the meeting face to face. It's the email messages, it's the pages. And then afterwards, are you actually trying to help them achieve what it is they want, either the problem they're trying to solve or a result they want they don't yet have? And those are things that are really memorable to people. Some of this, again, Ben, the danger is this is stuff that's easy to talk about, but it requires an intentionality to make it real. You aren't done being empathetic with your marketing and selling. You're never done. All you can do is just get better.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I have, Brian. If our viewers want to learn more about you and what you do, where should they go?
You can go to Markempa, and so it's marketing meets empathy, so markempa.com, and you can get content, resources, blog information. If you're really focused on demand generation, it's the B2B lead generation blog, and I have lots of stuff there as well.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for the time, Brian, and thanks to everyone watching. If you like what you saw, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and see you next time.
Thank you.